Hey, it's Sunday, you're unshaved, and you didn't do your hair. Let's talk about RC cars. Alright, let me show you the little thing I've been working on this morning until midday and that I'm gonna probably keep on tweaking around a little bit. And it is an idea that I have for 128 scale, a chassis, two-wheel drive. And so let me give you a little walk around the car. I posted a picture on it on my Facebook page. And so it is a similar concept to my FP, my 112 car. So let me show you what car I'm talking about here. Unhook yourself. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. So it is a 112 chassis, which is based originally on my trike 1.1, 1.0, and then 1.1, and that I've turned into a pan car. So it is a single plate chassis when the T-plate is actually done by the flex of the relief cuts that I have created in there. So this is the spring of the car for both lateral spring and upward spring, and then the dampening is done by the dampening tubes, and then the front is a floating front end. I don't know if you can see over there. The front end is fully floating with the servo on the top here. So this is the gist of it. It's something like one of my favorite kind of car, the classic chassis. So it's something I want to replicate. I have already replicated it, of course, on my trike when all the reliefs cuts have been extremely successful. This is a super fun chassis to drive. I've done something similar on the Classic Mini, and so now I want to do something a little bit more competitive. So let me give you a little walk around the way the chassis is done. So this is the rear pod. As you can see, the pod is attached by 3 mounting places over there, and the pod is mounted on a single plate chassis, but you can see this time the flex plate is going all the way to the front, so there's going to be a lot more spring to it, and the lateral spring as well is going to be more progressive because there's just a lot more material to play around. And from that, so the pod is attached by those 3 points over there. The central upper deck is going to be mounted on those 2 poles here that are just in the center. And my plan is to have the battery. So the battery is basically going to be fitted over there. That is the space you would have for a GL racing battery for the Minis, for the GL. And so the battery fits pretty much perfectly here, but it's going to be strapped to the top and not to the bottom. So it's not going to be floating in the sense that it's not going to be not in contact with the bottom part, but it's not going to stop the bottom part from moving. And so the bottom part, the rigidity of it in the center, it's those 2 poles for the battery mounts for the upper deck, and then those 2 mounting points for the floating front end. And so this front end is going to be similar to my pan car, difference being that I'm not really planning on having springs on it. I might have some in the future. This is a possibility, but I want to run it maybe just with some O-rings to have a little bit of dampening. But the idea is that this plate here can sway left and right, so it's like the biggest sway bar you can possibly find. And there's going to probably be some O-rings in between here a little bit. Those are going to be pins similar to the pins I have on my quick release for the trike and the pan car. So I might get some longer pins and end up having springs, but that's not my intention. And so this is where the servo is going to mount. The servo is going to mount right in the middle there. Those 2 uprights are going to be linked with 1 bar, and then the servo is going to be pushing and pulling one of those. So something similar to the steering I have on the classic chassis. Do I have one around me? Yes, I do. So it's going to be a similar geometry that we have here. where the two uprights are together linked all across, and then the servo is only pulling and pushing on one of them, and then it's been transferred by the central bar. So this way I can have a central servo, and the servo is integral parts of the front end over there. So this is the servo mount, and it's going to be squeezed between the upper plate and the lower plates of the swaying parts over here. So this is going to be a pretty cool amount of weight in the front over there. I got the bumper. So this is just like a prototyping on the CAD. There's nothing definitive over there. My idea for the height adjustment at the rear is not going to be offsetting this with different mounts. I want to have basically a big washer or small washers that I'm going to put underneath there to make the height, to change the height at the rear. And the front is going to be similar. You can change, of course, between the front and the rear mounting point. You can change the caster of the front, and then you can change the stiffness. You can have it very loose, or you can have it completely stiff in the front. And because you see all this, the attachment point is perfectly central to the chassis, my hope is that there's going to be a really nice amount of flex all the way from the front to the rear. So that is my hope for that, and there won't be any way to know until I test it. And so the rear over there, of course, the spring exists only from the actual flex of the chassis plate, but you can see that from the mounting positions of the pod over there, I have those two damper tubes, so grease dampers, oil dampers over there, and those are going to be mounted to the upper deck. And so this is going to do something similar once again than what I have on the pan over there. And so for every single direction, you have dampening from those two tubes. So it is the opposite of the way I have it here, but it is going to act similarly. So here you go. This is a first quick look at my little CAD prototype, or let's say 3D sketch of what I'm planning to do. And well, if you've been following, you know that there's going to be something in the not far future like that I'm going to try. Right, so everyone, hope this is inspiring to you, and I've had quite a few interested comments on that, so this is for sure a venue that I'm going to keep on exploring. Alright, so on that note, stay safe everyone, and see you later.